open your book to page 164. So we're going to review on the graphing. So let's start with number 25. So number 25, you have y equal to 2 sine 3x minus pi over 2. And the boundary is from negative 2 pi over 3 to 5 pi over 3. So every problem you're going to go through exactly the same steps. Okay? So first you have to get all the information. So get A. So that's the A. So A is 2. That's the B. Equal to 3. The C, including the negative, so it's negative pi over 2. And you get K. So K equal to 0. And period is 2 pi over B. And Q, you times it by 1/4. So you can times it by 1/4. Or just put 4 underneath, so it'd be 2 pi over 12, right? Just multiply by 4, and you can simplify that, so it'd be pi over 6. Now over here, go ahead and figure out the shift. So S equal to negative C over B. So S equal to positive pi over 6. And you want to make sure they have common denominator. So right now they don't have the common denominator, right? So you can make into common denominator, so that way you know where to stop. So make this into 4 pi over 6 and 10 pi over 6. So that way all the denominator is 6. So it's easier to, to calculate, to count, right? Okay, so now after you have all the information, let's go and start to graph. So this is page 164, number 25. So you want to use a pencil to start out. Okay, so this is a sine graph. So sine graph starts right over here. And that would be the shift value. So S equal to pi over 6. So this is going to be pi over 6. And Q is pi over 6. So that means this would be 2 pi over 6. And this would be the 0. So once you locate that, you can go ahead and draw the axes. Again, use a ruler so you get the nice graph. And once you do that, get rid of this line. You don't need that line anymore. That just tells you where to start. Then after that, you have to look for the K. Okay, the K is 0, so that's kind of nice. Make things a lot easier to do. Okay. So now you're going to start to label things. So let's go and label the K first, the A. Okay. So before we forget, so this one right over here. So that's the 2. And this is negative 2. So feel free to use color pen or the marker or whatever to make things a bit easier to read. And when you label, make sure you label on the axis, right? And you want to go all the way up to 10. So here is the 0. So I'm going to erase this here so I can label it nicer. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and you have to go to negative 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you got pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, 4 pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, 6 pi over 6, 7 pi over 6, 8 pi over 6. You have to keep going all the way up to 10 pi over 6. Then you have to go to negative 4 pi over 6. So negative 1 pi over 6, negative 2 pi over 6, negative 3 pi over 6, negative 4 pi over 6. Okay, and that takes us number 25. Okay, now let's go to 26. Let's go to the next one. So again, every problem you do exactly the same procedure, right? Same steps. Okay, so y equal to negative 4 cosine of 4x plus pi over 2. And you want to go from negative pi over 2 to pi. So let's get all the information. So A equal to 4, B equal to 4, C equal to pi over 2, right? Again, that's your A, B, C. K equal to 0 because there's no k in front. Period equal to 2 pi over b. And q, so this is equal to pi over 2. And after that, let's go ahead and do, okay, so that's going to q, so it'll be pi over 8. And then from here, you figure out the s. So s equal to negative. Again, notice I kind of separate so you don't get the things mixed, right? So it's negative c over b. So s equal to negative pi over 8. So you have common denominator, but this one you don't. So let's make into common denominator. So make it 4 pi over 8. And this would be 8 pi over 8. Okay? So once you get all your information, now you can go and do the graphing. So this is the cosine. So normally cosine starts over here, but it's a negative 4 cosine, so it's negative. So you have to flip upside down. So it means you're going to start right over here instead. Right? It's a negative cosine. Oh wait. Okay. So here's it. So that's your starting point, and this will be the value for the shift, and so this would be the negative pi over 8. And now you have to use a q. So again, so this is normally the cosine starts over here, but because it's negative 4 cosine, so it gets flipped upside down. So it means you're starting over here. So the s would be over here, right? So s is negative pi over 8. Then you have to use the q to find out the 0. So q is pi over 8. So your 0 would be end up right over here. Okay. And so now we're ready to go and do all the labeling. So let's get rid of this line. So again, don't have multiple lines. Okay. So after you're done, erase those lines. So this would be. So this would be the 4. This would be the negative 4. And so this would be 0. And this would be pi over 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have to go all the way up to 8. So 2 pi over 8, 3 pi over 8, 4 pi over 8, 5 pi over 8, 6 pi over 8, 7 pi over 8, 8 pi over 8. Then I have to go this way, go to negative 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So negative pi over 8, negative 2 pi over 8, negative 3 pi over 8, negative 4 pi over 8. And that takes us number 26. Okay. Now let's go to number 27. You have y equal to 4 plus 2 sine 3x minus pi over 2, and you want to go from negative 2 pi over 3 to 5 pi over 3. Okay, so a equal to 2, that's a. B equal to 3, right, so that's your a, b, and c equal to negative pi over 2, and k equal to 4, p equal to 2 pi over b, so q equal to 2 pi over 12, right? Again, you just times the bound by 4, and so q equal to pi over 6. Now let's go and figure out the s. So s equal to negative c, so watch, right? Negative c, so watch, there's a negative, another negative over here, right? Negative c over b, so s equal to pi over 6. And now you have the 6 over here, but this is 3, so I can make it into common denominator, so it's easier to figure out. Okay, so now we have all the information, so let's go ahead and do the graphing. Okay, so this one is a sine function. So sine starts right over here. And this is the shift value. So this is pi over 6. And Q is pi over 6. So it's perfect. So it's right over here. So we can find out where this thing is. So this is going to be right over here. Okay, so that's going to erase this part over here. So now let's go and do the K. The K is 4. K is 4 and A is 2. So that means you have to go up 2. So that means this will give you 6. Again, because A is 2, so you want to divide this into 2. So you can figure out how much is each square, right? And so this would be the 2. And so again, you divide this in, so you want to divide this into 2 so you can see how much is every square. So that means you can go down the same amount. So it would be 1, the 0 would be over here. Okay. Okay, so that's the K. So here's your 0. So now you're ready to label everything. Okay, so you have to go up to 10. So that's, so use your ruler to line up. See, if you line up this point with this point, you will get everything all lined up. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you have to go -4. So that's -1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's all. That's how far you have to go. So now you're ready to label. So this would be pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, 4 pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, 6 pi over 6, 7 pi, 8 pi, 9 pi, 10 pi over 6. Okay. Over here, you're going to get -pi, -2 pi, -3 pi, -4 pi over 6. Okay. And that's it. Okay. So this is number 27. Okay, let's go to number 28. Number 28, you have y equal to 6 minus 4 cosine 4x plus pi over 2, and you're going from -pi over 2 to pi. Okay, so you can get all your information. So A equal to 4, B equal to 4, C equal to pi over 2, so K equal to 6, and P equal to 2 pi over 4, so period equal to pi over 2. Then after that, you need to go and figure out the Q. So Q is equal to 1/4 of that, so it will be pi over 8. Okay, now let's go and do the S. So S equal to negative C over B. So S equal to -pi over 8. So now we have to make all this into A also, right? So -4 pi over 8. So 8 pi over 8. Okay, so now we all set. We got all the information. So let's go and do the graphing. Now this is get really bunched up, so I'm going to do it down here. Well, let's see, -4. Okay, we can do it this one down here. So I'm going to do 28 over here. Okay, so this is the negative cosine. So normally cosine starts over here. Normally cosine starts over here, but because it's a negative cosine, so you get flipped upside down. So that means you're starting right over here. And your starting point would be the value of s, right? So this would be the negative pi over 8. And q is pi over 8. So this would be the 0 over here. This would be pi over 8. Okay. So from here, we can figure out these axes right over here. So once you do that, again, that's going to erase all these lines over here. So now let's go and do the k. Okay, for k is 6, so this is 6 over here. So you go up by 4. So this would be 10. And again, because the a is 4, so you want to divide this into 4. And you go down. So divide this by 4. So it can give you the idea of how big is each one. So your graph would be right over here. Okay, so now we're ready to label. Let's get rid of this number over here. So we need to go up to 8. Okay. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we have to go to negative 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now if you don't have space down below, that's okay, just label on top of it, right? So it'll be pi over 8, 2 pi over 8, 3 pi over 8, 4 pi over 8, 5 pi over 8, 6 pi over 8, 7 pi over 8, 8 pi over 8. And on this side, this is a 0, so it'll be negative 1 pi over 8, negative 2 pi over 8, negative 3 pi over 8, negative 4 pi over 8. And that takes care of this one. Okay? Okay, now let's go to the next part. Let's go to page 200, 11 to 14. Okay, let's do number 11. You have y equal to cotangent 2x minus pi, and you go from negative pi over 2 to pi, positive pi over 2. Again, every problem is you do the same way, right? So get the a. So a equal to 1, b equal to 2, c equal to negative pi, and k equal to 0, period. Now for tangent and cotangent, period is pi over b, not 2 pi, right? It's pi over b, and instead of the q, you get h, right? So half of that, so it'd be pi over 4. Right? Just times the bottom by 2, right? You get 4. The shift equal to negative c over b, so the shift equal to pi over 2, so making the common denominator should be 2 pi over 4. And so you want to make everything the denominator of 4. So it be negative 2 pi over 4, 2 pi over 4. Okay, so now we have all the information. So let's go and do graphing. Okay, so this is the cotangent. So cotangent graph is going this way. And cotangent starts right on the dashed line, so that's where it starts. And this will have the s, so this will be value of s, so it will be 2 pi over 4. And q and h is pi over 4, so this would be 3 pi over 4. So this would be pi over 4. So this would be the 0. So again, you have to look for the 0. So once you find a 0, go and draw this line. And then you have to go negative So 3, this is too much already. So let's go and erase. So you don't need this one here. And you go backward, so you need to go this way. So 0. So that's going to label. So here's your 0, pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, negative pi over 4, and over here it be negative 2 pi over 4. And don't forget the A, the amplitude, you start from the halfway. So go halfway over here, you go up and over. So that's the amplitude. So it's 1. So it'd be 1, and this would be negative 1 over here. Okay, and that's your number 11. Okay. Okay, let's go to.
How do you graph the negative tangent and cotangent?
Okay, let's go to number 12. Okay, number 12, you got y equal to tangent 2x plus pi. And you want to go from negative 3 pi over 4 to 3 pi over 4. Okay, so again, let's get all the information together. So again, if you have negative, you just flip the graph upside down, but the starting point does not change. So tangent starts right in the middle, cotangent start at the dash line, right? And the graph just upside down. So A equal to 1, B equal to 2, C equal to pi, so K equal to 0, period equal to pi over B, and H equal to pi over 4. Okay. Just multiply the bottom by 2. S equal to negative pi, negative C over B, and so make into common denominator. So all these are common denominator, so we are good. Okay, so let's go and do the graphing. Okay, so this is number 12. So this is the tangent graph. So tangent graph goes like this. Now if it's negative tangent, you just flip upside down, so it becomes like this. Okay, so you just go opposite direction if it's negative tangent. Okay, so tangent graph. So it's going this way, and your starting point is over here, and that's the value of s. So it'd be negative 2 pi over 4. And so this would be negative pi over 4, and this would be the 0. Okay. You know, this is too much to the right. I'm going to start over. I'm going to start on this one here. So again, tangent graph is going this way, and this would be the starting point. So this would be the negative 2 pi over 4. And h is pi over 4, so you just go by pi over 4, right? So this would be negative pi over 4, and the 0 would be right over here. So your axis would be right over here. And so you need to do more graphing here. Now let's go and start to do the labeling. So again, I'm going to get rid of the line over there. So get rid of the unnecessary lines. So this is negative pi over 4, negative 2 pi over 4, negative 3 pi over 4. And this one would be 0, so it would be pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4. And your A would be, you just go halfway up and over, so this would be the 1, and this would be the negative 1 over here. Okay, and that's it for number 12. Okay, let's go to 13. You got y equal to cosecant pi x minus pi over 2, and you're going from negative 1/2 to 5 over 2. Okay, so again, every problem you do exactly the same steps, go through the same technique. So A equal to 1, B equal to pi, C equal to negative pi over 2, so K equal to 0, period equal to 2 pi over B, so period equal to 2, so Q equal to 2 over 4. Okay, I'm not going to simplify yet. I'm going to wait. Maybe, you need to get the 4, right? So shift is negative C over B, so the shift is equal to 1/2. Okay, so this would be equal to 1/2. So 1/2 is the denominator. Okay, so now we have all the information, so let's go and graph. Now for cosecant, you want to use this graph, right? So page 200, number 13. Okay, so cosecant came from sine. So you have to think of it as sine. Think of it as graphing the sine function. So sine function starts over here. And so this would be the S. So it would be 1/2. And Q is 1/2. So this is kind of nice. So it would be 2 over 2. And this would be the 0. And look for the K. The K is 0. So that's kind of nice. So now we can find the center right over here. Okay, so let's get rid of the unnecessary stuff. Okay, so we need to go all the way up to 5. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you have to go to negative 1. So over here. Okay, so that's going to draw the dashed line. Again, line up this point with this point so that you can get a nice dashed line. And the amplitude is 1. So I like to kind of do the A first so I don't forget. So that's 1. That's your negative 1. Okay, then that's going to do the flipping. I can start from the vertex and you go this way, right? So you can start from the vertex, you go both directions. Okay, and now that's going to label, so that's 0. And this would be 1/2. 2 over 2, 3 over 2, 4 over 2, 5 over 2. And that's the 0. And this is the negative 1 over 2. And that's it for number 13. Okay, let's go to number 14. Okay, number 14, you got y equal to secant of pi x plus pi over 2. You're going from negative 1 to 1. So again, A equal to 1, B equal to pi, C equal to pi over 2, K equal to 0, period equal to 2 pi over B. So period equal to 2. So Q equal to 2 over 4 or 1/2. Okay. Now S equal to negative C over B. So shift is equal to negative 1/2. So this one you want to make into negative 2 over 2 to 2 over 2. Okay, so again, get all the information. Now we're ready to graph. This got kind of a little bit messy, so I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to do the next one. Okay, do the number 14 down here. Okay, so this is the secant. Secant came from cosine, so you will start right over here. Right, secant came from cosine, so I'm going to start over here, and this would be the S, so it would be negative 1/2, and Q is 1/2. So Q is 1/2, so the 0 would be right over here. Okay, so the 9 would be right over here. Okay, so let's get rid of all these extra things. Okay, now we're ready to do the, okay, so you have to go to negative 2, so 1, 2, and you have to go to positive 2, so 1, 2. So do the dash line. So do the graph. And do the amplitude. So this would be the 1. And this would be the -1. And the labeling would be 0, 1/2, 2/2, -1/2, -2/2. And that's it. Okay.